Have you ever wondered why it hurts so much? Why, even when everything seems to be in order, you feel a constant weight in your chest, a kind of silent misalignment inside you. Maybe you've already tried everything: meditation, advice from friends, pretending to be strong, pretending you're fine, but the pain doesn't go away. It's still there like a shadow that never stops following you. And I'm going to tell you something very few have the courage to admit. Most of your suffering doesn't come from the outside world. It comes from within, from what you deny, from the parts of yourself you abandoned. Carl Jung, one of the most brutal and profound thinkers in psychology, said it clearly: what you don't make conscious will manifest in your life as fate. And that's exactly what's happening to you. Life has been trying to show you something, but you don't want to listen. You hide. You numb yourself with distractions, addictions, shallow relationships. You convince yourself that it'll pass, but it doesn't, because pain doesn't want to be ignored. It wants to be understood. This video is not another piece of superficial self-help content. I didn't come here to give you pretty words. I came to challenge you, to push you to look exactly where you've been afraid to. Give me just a few minutes of your attention, and that's all I need. And I promise you'll understand why you're suffering so much, and why that suffering doesn't have to stay. Maybe you've hit rock bottom. Maybe you're still smiling while tearing apart on the inside. Or maybe you've learned to live with pain like it's just part of who you are. Whatever the case, I need to tell you an uncomfortable truth. Suffering only persists when you don't have the courage to face its root. Jung devoted his life to mapping that territory, the dark terrain of the soul. He knew that only those who dare to descend into their own shadow can find true light. Are you willing to do that? Then let's continue. Because at the end of this path, you won't be the same. And that's not a threat, it's a promise. But what you haven't yet understood, and need to understand now, is that real suffering, the kind that paralyzes, the kind that hurts even when you don't say a word, appears when you disconnect from who you truly are. Carl Jung said it clearly: the greatest tragedy of the soul is living a life that doesn't belong to you. And that's exactly what you're doing. Since you were a child, you were taught to fit in, to be accepted, to follow a script. And without realizing it, you drifted away from yourself. You killed parts of who you were just to be applauded. You silenced your desires, repressed your anger, swallowed your sadness. And now you carry a pain you can't even name, a pain that doesn't scream, but eats you from the inside out. That's the suffering of someone living in disconnection, someone who looks in the mirror and no longer recognizes what they see. You got so used to the role they gave you, you forgot who you were before you started playing it. But the soul doesn't forget. The soul doesn't negotiate. The soul reacts with anxiety, with insomnia, with emptiness, with guilt that has no name. Because the sadness you carry isn't about what you're missing on the outside. It's about what's missing inside. It's not failure that's breaking you. It's the false expectation you created about who you were supposed to be. It's not loneliness that hurts. It's not knowing who you are when you're alone. It's not rejection that crushes you. It's every time you abandon yourself just to maintain an image that isn't even yours. And as long as that disconnection exists, the pain will remain, because you're trying to heal an external wound when the infection is coming from within. But here's what matters: that pain isn't punishment. It's a warning. Jung didn't see suffering as something to avoid, but as the first call to awakening. Life isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to push you back to yourself. And that return begins when you stop running, when you decide to listen, to listen to what you silenced, what you buried, what you pretended didn't hurt anymore. And right there, in that moment, true transformation begins. In the next part, we're going to talk about the most feared, and at the same time the most liberating thing in your psyche, your shadow. The part of you that you reject the most, but that holds the code to your healing. And if you don't face it, if you don't get to know it, you will never stop suffering. If this resonated with you, subscribe, because here we won't numb you. We'll open your eyes. And what's coming is not comfortable, but it is necessary. Carl Jung called that hidden side the shadow. And don't get it twisted. Everyone has one. You do too. The shadow is everything you repressed, everything you hid, everything you denied about yourself. These are your desires, the ones you were told were wrong. Your emotions, the ones you learned to silence. Your anger, the one you swallowed with a smile. Your ambition, disguised as humility. Your fears, hidden behind phrases like, "I'm fine." All of that, everything you didn't want to be, or what the world taught you weren't allowed to be, lives deep inside. And the more you ignore it, the more it controls you. Have you ever wondered why you explode for no reason? Why you sabotage good things in your life? Why you run away just when you're close to something real? That's not bad luck. That's your shadow operating in silence. The shadow doesn't need permission. It only needs you to keep sleeping. Jung said it with brutal precision. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. It's not the universe against you. It's not karma. It's your shadow taking the wheel while you believe you're in control, and it will keep doing it until you face it. But here comes the hard part. Facing your shadow isn't easy. It's not enough to say, "This is just how I am." It means admitting what you never wanted to admit, that sometimes you manipulate, that sometimes you destroy what you love, that sometimes you hate yourself. It means looking in the mirror and seeing not just the mask, but the beast. And still, listen closely. Your shadow is not your enemy. It's the exiled part of your soul, the part that screamed for years while you ignored it, the part that doesn't want to destroy you, but to be integrated, to be seen, to be heard. Jung never said you had to kill your shadow. He said you had to embrace it, to transform it, to turn it into strength, not burden. Because what you deny controls you, but what you integrate sets you free. And here you are now. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't go back to hiding what you now know lives inside you. So, what now? In the next part, we'll talk about the path to true healing. How to cross that inner hell with your eyes wide open. How to reclaim those broken pieces of yourself and rebuild from the shadow. Because understanding it is only the beginning. What you do with it, that's what changes everything. Facing the unconscious is stepping into a dark territory where you're no longer in control. It means taking off the mask, letting go of the victim role, and accepting a brutal truth. There is a part of you that contributes to your own suffering. And that kind of honesty hurts. It means stopping the stories you keep telling yourself. It means sitting with yourself and admitting what you've denied for years. But what does it really mean in practice to face the unconscious? It's listening to what your body screams when your mind pretends to be deaf. The knot in your stomach when you're with the wrong person. The tension in your neck when you say yes again when you wanted to scream no. That unexplained sadness that shows up every time you pretend everything's fine. That's not weakness. It's your unconscious trying to save you. It doesn't want to destroy you. It wants to wake you up. And you can start slowly. Observe your dreams, your automatic reactions, the patterns that keep repeating over and over again. Nothing is a coincidence. Every trigger, every overwhelming emotion, every "I don't know why I reacted that way" is a message. The unconscious speaks in symbols. And your task now is to stop ignoring them and begin decoding them. Not with urgency, not with judgment, but with presence, with the courage to look at yourself without filters. One powerful exercise is brutal writing. Every day, take pen and paper and write as if no one will ever read it. Let out what you keep quiet, what you deny, what you're afraid to feel, what you're ashamed to admit. And don't edit it, because when what you hide becomes words, it loses its power to destroy you. Another fundamental tool, the therapeutic mirror. Whether with a professional or someone trained to guide you, you need a space where you can confront what you can't see alone. Jung said, "The unconscious isn't a garbage bin. It's a living intelligence. It doesn't want to punish you. It wants to reveal. It wants you to stop merely surviving and start understanding yourself. But for that, you have to be willing to listen, without excuses, without defenses, without masks. Want to stop suffering? Then stop running. Because as long as you run, the wound will chase you. But when you stop, when you finally look it in the face, something changes. The pain is no longer an enemy. It becomes a guide. And there, right there, you discover the truth no one told you. The suffering you were so afraid of is a doorway, a threshold. And that's exactly what we'll explore in the next part. What is the true role of pain in your life? Why does it keep coming back, even when it seems like everything is under control? And more importantly, how can it become your greatest ally on the path to freedom? Stay with me, because what's coming might blow your mind. Pain is not your enemy. It's your most brutal teacher. It doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to show you exactly what part of yourself you've been ignoring for far too long. And it won't leave until you look it straight in the eye. Most people don't want to hear this. They'd rather cover it up with noise, distract themselves with temporary pleasures, numb themselves with work, with empty relationships, with the false idea that everything is okay. But you know it. It's not okay. You feel the pressure in your chest. You know something is broken, even if no one can see it. And that something is you, denying yourself. Carl Jung didn't say pain had to be conquered. He said it had to be lived. Fully, deeply, without masks, without shortcuts. Want to heal? Then stop running. Every time you run from what you feel, you give away your power. Every time you pretend nothing's wrong, you strengthen the wound. And one day, that wound becomes identity. You forget who you were before the pain. And that's the most dangerous part. Because then you settle into suffering, into the broken character, into the perfect excuse not to change. But listen closely. That suffering isn't a sentence. It's a bridge, a path towards something more real, more yours, more free. When you stop fighting pain and start asking what it's trying to tell you, everything changes. You discover that the anguish you've been carrying for years wasn't there to destroy you. It was trying to bring you back to yourself. Of course, that hurts, because it forces you to admit you've been living disconnected from who you really are. It forces you to see that many of your decisions were born from fear, not from love, from guilt, not from truth. And this is where responsibility begins. You can't say you didn't know anymore, because you do. You feel it. You've felt it this whole time. Now it's up to you to choose. Keep running, or start listening to yourself. And if you have the courage to listen to your pain with humility, with presence, with real curiosity, it takes you to a place very few have seen. It's not magical. It's not perfect, but it's real. And there, finally, there is peace. Not because the world changed, but because you're no longer divided on the inside. Now let's talk about that place, the place on the other side of pain, the moment when you stop resisting and start integrating every part of yourself you once denied. What happens when you no longer hide from your shadow, from your anger, from your emptiness? What happens is transformation. True healing isn't the absence of pain. It's the ability to turn pain into awareness, into silent power, into clarity. Carl Jung called it individuation, not as some mystical concept, but as the most radical process a human being can go through. To stop being who others expected and become who you truly are. And that doesn't happen through perfection. It happens through breaking open. It means facing your anger without fear, your sadness without shame, your desire without guilt. It means embracing what you rejected the most, because what you tried to bury was also you. And when you stop fighting yourself, suffering starts to let go. Not because it vanishes, but because it no longer has to scream. Your soul, finally, has been heard. There, in the middle of that silence that no longer hurts, something new rises. Not a better version of yourself, but an honest one. Whole, human. You realize you no longer have to pretend to be strong, because your vulnerability doesn't make you weak. It gives you roots. It gives you depth. And then you understand that everything you went through had a purpose, that every fall, every breakdown, every moment of darkness was pushing you toward this very moment. The moment where you're no longer running, no longer performing, no longer begging. You simply are. And that's enough. In the next part, we'll talk about what comes after integration. Because the journey doesn't end when you find yourself. It ends when you use that complete version of you to live with courage. To choose from awareness, not from fear. Get ready. Because what's coming is no longer about survival. It's about real life. Now that you've met your shadow, now that you understand pain didn't come to destroy you, but to reveal you, now that you know you don't need masks to be worthy of love, you can't keep living the way you did before. There's no turning back. You start noticing things you used to ignore. People who only stayed around when you denied yourself. Situations you tolerated out of fear of upsetting others. Relationships that were nothing more than shared need in disguise. Everything becomes clear, brutally clear, and that clarity hurts, but it also sets you free. You say no without stuttering. You finally give yourself the yes you've been postponing for years. Not to become someone new, but to stop betraying who you've always been. That inner shift doesn't make noise, but it changes everything. You discover something no one ever taught you. You didn't need to be healed to be worthy. You just needed to stop hiding. Because the peace you've been looking for out there has always been waiting inside you. But be careful. This is where many people get stuck. The pain lessens, the patterns shift, life starts to flow. And they think the work is done. But it's not. The most important part is still ahead. Jung said individual healing isn't real until it becomes contribution. So the question now is, what will you do with your light now that you've crossed through your own darkness? Because awakening is not a destination, it's a beginning. Life won't treat you the same anymore, because now, you know. And once you know, you can't pretend to be blind again. You heard the truths that burn, and you didn't run. You stayed. And for that alone, you are no longer like the rest. Most people run when the truth gets uncomfortable. You didn't. You walked through it. And now, you stand in front of a choice. Repeat the old script or write your own. Your pain is no longer a chain. It's material. Your emptiness doesn't swallow you. It's fertile ground. And your wounds, they can become scars that mark the beginning of your true freedom. But that clarity, that power, comes with a price. A simple, yet irreversible one. You will never be able to fall asleep again. Because once you see, there's no excuse to keep living on autopilot. Living at this new level isn't comfortable. It's demanding. It requires that you stop betraying yourself, that you no longer accept less than what you deserve, that you stop hiding behind excuses or old fears that no longer define you. You don't need to be 100% ready. No one is. What you need is to decide, and decide every day. To live with awareness, to look at yourself with honesty, without filters, without makeup, with compassion, yes, but also with truth. And above all, to act. Because knowledge without action becomes just another form of self-deception. Carl Jung said individuation, the process of becoming whole within yourself, isn't a single event. It's a path. And today, maybe, you took your first real step. Maybe, for the first time, you realized that you're not broken. You're in transition. You're remembering parts of yourself you once left behind. You're returning. And the pain wasn't punishment. It was a call, a cry from your soul asking you to come home. Now tell me, what moment in this video cut through you the most? What truth shook you without asking permission? Write it in the comments. Not for me, for you. Write it as a silent promise to yourself. Because when you put it into words, you make it real. And maybe someone who feels lost today will read it and see there's a way forward. And if this video stirred something in you, if something inside you woke up, even just a little, don't stop here. The next video is just as important. It continues what we started today. I'll be waiting for you there. Not to entertain you, but to keep uncovering truths. Because sometimes, what heals the most is what makes you most uncomfortable. I'll see you in the next part. Or better yet, we'll meet in that space where you no longer need masks. Where all that remains is who you truly are.